Okay. It's indeed, it's uh, one, 1 o'clock straight, and it's such a pleasure to open the first ever arena organized by Mission BANOS, and to have you all here on this sunny day in November in Gothenburg. And it's particularly a pleasure not to see only familiar faces, but actually also many new faces, because that is what our ambition is with Mission BANOS. The support action, the coordination action to really drive the implementation of the mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters in the Baltic and the North Sea, to inspire, to engage, to support you as the relevant stakeholders to take the actions which are necessary to achieve the very ambitious objectives of this mission. Therefore, who perhaps does not know me, my name is Angela Schulz-Heden. I'm the managing director of the Submariner Network. We have been active for more than 10 years to support and promote sustainable and innovative uses of marine resources. And it's with my great pleasure that I have been given the role since January this year to also coordinate the Mission BANOS, so to support the EU mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters here in the Baltic and the North Sea, together with 17 other partners from all North and Baltic Sea countries. And I would like to immediately, straight away, also extend my gratitude towards the colleagues from IVL who have done a great job in getting this arena here organized, together with actually the plentiful teams of my Submariner Secretariat who actually sort of made this happening. First of all, I wish you all a lot of fun. It's so nice to have you here live in person and not online. I think this is from time to time required in order to really find coordination, find cooperation, find new ideas, to get inspired and to meet your fellow neighbor who you may not have met before, and where you suddenly identify that you have something in common and that you really want to do something useful for the mission Restore Our Oceans together. So, what is my role today here? We actually have only this plenary session, where we have no workshops, and we have a final plenary session, because actually we wanted to have a red thread going through this arena. The red thread being that we have put in discussion points, action points, and we hope that we will walk out with much more concrete action points for the actions which really need to be started tomorrow in order to actually achieve the objectives in 2030. And therefore, yeah, what is the red thread? When we started with the Mission BANOS, we said, okay, it's an EU mission. We are super grateful for the European Commission that they have come up with this new concept, that also they are actually providing quite substantial funding. But the actions, they have to be taken here, on the spot, with national, with regional governments, with you as stakeholders. So why should you come to Brussels? No, we have to go to you. We have to engage with you here. And this arena is just the first one. You have to know you are a little bit our guinea pigs. You are our pilot, because we actually will do this roadshow 4 more times. We will go to Tallinn, we will go to the North Sea, we will go to Poland, in order to hopefully then inspire people there. So I hope that today, we will with this opening, we will give you a bit of a background on what all this EU mission is about, what our hopes are. We have some keynotes from visions which are already existing in the region, and then we will do a helicopter pitch by those who are behind the various workshop themes on what their expectations are for this arena. And then we hope you're well prepared in order to spread out to the various workshops, spread out for the mingling, and then come back on first day so that we can really take decisions. Okay? And with that, I would like to actually give the floor, or rather the screen, to Kęstutis Sadauskas, who is actually the mission manager, and unfortunately he could not make it here while all of you could make it. So I think he's the one who is actually sad in Brussels, and we are the happy ones who are here. But let's give the word to Kęstutis. So if I can ask for the video to come on stage.
I would like to welcome all the participants of this first mission arena and thank Blue Mission BANOS for organizing it. Unfortunately, I cannot be there with you in Gothenburg, and I will be missing out on the opportunity of seeing the lighthouse activities up close. But what I can do, as you kick off this arena, is recall a few important principles that uphold the EU's mission, Restore Our Ocean and Waters by 2030, and update you on the progress. First, I want to underline, restoring our ocean and waters is our joint responsibility. We have ambitious targets that we can only meet by working together. The European Union's mission is a federating initiative, and its true success will be measured in terms of bringing together people, funds, and solutions. The momentum generated so far with the Charter signatory process, the launch of first mission projects, the associated regions, the Lighthouse preparatory actions, and the mission implementation platform needs to be sustained now through visible results and tangible achievements on the ground. If policies, instruments, and solutions are channeled in the same direction, Europe will be on fast track towards our Green Deal objectives, and the mission will have succeeded. The second point I would like to raise is on local implementation of the mission. That is what the mission lighthouses are for. And right now, they're mobilizing and bundling efforts from European Union, member states, regions, and other key partners for localized concerted action in each of the 4 major EU sea basins. In fact, the lighthouses have made good progress in creating synergies between different EU and member states programs and financial instruments, which showed that the lighthouse approach is working. And this will help us achieve the critical mass of resources that is needed to create a real blue union. I'm sure many of you attended the launch of the Baltic and North Sea Lighthouse back in April. In the first phase of the mission, this lighthouse, with the project Blue Mission BANOS, has been entrusted with the fundamental task of starting work and gaining traction on the blue economy. And now I come to the mission's state of play. 3 mission work programs have been published so far, while a 4th is in preparation. Through them, we aim to develop innovative solutions at local level to then replicate them elsewhere, also through the novel concept of associated regions. Other recent EU initiatives include the Zero Emission Waterborne Transport Partnership and the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, which pool research and innovation investments and align national programs at pan-European scale in order to find innovative solutions for sustainable blue economy. The new equity initiative InvestEU Blue Economy will make risk financing available to innovative and sustainable blue economy SMEs and startups via financial intermediaries. In cooperation with the European Investment Bank, we are starting a Blue Champion scheme that will provide financial advisory services to projects selected based on their potential impact on the objectives of our mission. Much has been done since launching the mission 2 years ago. But if you consider the magnitude of our three objectives, restoring biodiversity, eliminating pollution, and making the blue economy carbon neutral and circular, we need to do more. We need your political commitment, your programs, your ideas, your work. We need local solutions that restore and regenerate our ocean and waters. And we need them to feature on the mission charter. In conclusion, we need all of you. I wish you fruitful meetings during the first mission arena.
Okay, and I think Kęstutis has given us the right word in terms of moving forward to our colleagues from Sweden, Petra Wallberg from the Ministry of Climate and Enterprise, and John Tumpain from Formas. You will give us a brief what you expect here from the arena from Swedish point of view. Thanks.
Thank you very much for inviting us and have the opportunity to be here today. I just said to John when we started here that we are both very, very excited to be here today and to see that there are so many participants here. We started to work together in 2019 for this mission, and as you may well know, the mission was an initiative by the EU Commission, and they say that within 5 areas we want you to set the goals. We want everybody to be involved, and we don't know how this is going to be done. You have to decide on this, and this is not research. So to see now today for this very sort of confusing task, to see that there's so many people here today, it makes me really, really happy. And the Swedish government have been an active part in the development of the EU missions since the start. And we have also made a significant effort in the preparations for the missions, and particularly for the missions Ocean and Waters. And at present, the government are represented in the EU working group with responsibilities for the calls and for the mission Ocean Waters. And Formas is the national funding agency and also providing the expert advice to the ministry, and also program the national calls on the missions. And Johnny will tell them more about that. I have come today to be here to listen and learn, and we are very much looking forward to see the outcome of this conference, and also to get some tasks so that we know what we can do to support this process forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra, and I think on behalf of all the Swedes in the room, we want to wish you a very warm welcome here to the front side of Sweden, as we call it, to Gothenburg. I think most of you know that we have Scandinavia's largest shipping port just down the road. I'm pretty sure we have Northern Europe's sharpest and most creative minds here in the public today. So I'm looking forward to 2.5 really creative days with you. And of course, Gothenburg is strategically placed here. It's our gateway to the North Sea and beyond. It's our gateway to the Baltic Sea as well. And all of you have come here today to talk about a carbon neutral and circular blue economy, to talk about sustainable ocean ecosystems. And I just want to remind you that in Europe today, 4.5 million jobs are directly provided for by the blue economy. Across the world, we're expecting by 2030 the value of the blue economy and the number of jobs in the blue economy to double. So oceans are obviously a very important part of our development and a key to our sustainable future. But all of you probably know better than me, everyone in the room, that oceans are also critically important for meeting climate change, as providers of food, as hosts for biodiversity and genetic diversity in the seas, for providing space for energy production, for transport, for recreation, for security. And it's exactly these issues that you're all going to be talking about together at the workshops in the coming days. And you all know the challenges facing us in the North Sea and in the Baltic Seas, not least in our coastal areas, not least tackling pollution, not least tackling eutrophication, for example. But together we're going to find solutions that both work for healthy oceans worldwide and for sustainable local communities in the north of Europe. And as you also know, climate change itself, it's changing the ocean system itself, both the chemistry and the biology of the ocean system. And maybe a little more seriously, the current geopolitical and geoeconomic situation in our region means that we, at an even faster pace, have to look at how to diversify our economies, how to relate to these changes in society, and it's going to redefine how we look at our seas as well. But maybe on a more positive note, we have the preliminary agreement on the nature restoration law, which was agreed this week. We have the biodiversity framework that was agreed in Montreal last week. So there are things that are giving us hope that mean that if we really try to make action, that we can take real steps forward for protecting our ocean ecosystems. And what does all of this mean? I think all of this means that Mission Oceans, it's even more important now than at its conception for 2 or 3 years ago, if that's possible. It also means that we all need to act. I think action, action, action is going to be the key words of these 3 days. And we need to act together. We need to collaborate. We need to innovate how we work. We need to innovate how we understand the waters and the ocean ecosystems around us. And we also need to steal with pride. We need to copy and paste good ideas that come from different colleagues here in the room and see how we can adapt and apply those to our local regions and communities. As Andrea said, my name is John Payne. I work at Formas, which is the government agency here that funds research and innovation for sustainable development. And as Petra said, we're the expert agency for supporting the government in Missions Oceans here in Sweden. And quickly, I just want to highlight there are 3 kind of strands for what we're going to do here the 3 days. We're going to talk about innovative solutions. We're going to talk about showcasing local, regional, and national approaches, and we're going to try and define concrete paths to ensuring Mission Oceans' success. And then I thought that we would give some examples of how we're doing that here in Sweden. And again, I think it's fitting that we're here in Gothenburg. It's the home of Volvo, it's the home of ball bearings, it's the home of lots of innovative solutions and inventions. It's also part of a dynamic, knowledge-driven region, which we're going to hear a bit more about later on. But Sweden's also home to many other innovations. It's home to Minecraft and Spotify, and there's enormous work being done in the north of Sweden connected to batteries and to carbon-neutral steel. But Sweden's also the home of other innovations. It's the home of the world's first environmental protection agency. It's also where in the 90s we set an ambitious mission, you could say, a zero tolerance policy for deaths in road traffic, which completely changed how we work with traffic planning and traffic security in Sweden. And the point I want to make is not that we're great at innovation in Sweden. The point is that we actually don't do any of that alone. All of these innovations and inventions, they've come about through international collaboration, through the meeting of minds across boundaries, through meetings like this. So I really want you to all ask yourself that question: what do these disruptive blue innovations look like? What are the blue equivalents of these success stories? What's the blue Spotify or the blue green steel that we're going to be talking about in the future? How do we make these blue policy innovations come around in this part of the world? And how do we support these? What we do at my own agency, which Petra was mentioning, we have a lot of different initiatives. We have a 10-year challenge-driven national research program for oceans and water here in Sweden. Our most recent investment was in our Blue Innovation portfolio. There we have projects like the fishing ports of the future. We have projects like blue biorefineries, projects about integrated surface water and groundwater management. We also fund a Centre for Blue Food, which we're going to hear a little bit about later on. And maybe most importantly, we're very active in our European partnerships. Besides Mission Oceans, we're very active in Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership and in Water for All. And I know that there's many of you here as well who are active in those networks, and that we can use those to kind of create these spin-off effects of everything we do nationally. We're also running the National Committee for the UN Ocean Decade of Science, where in Sweden we have prioritized innovation, data, ecosystem-based management, and ocean literacy for the coming 10 years. Finally, when it comes to pathways forwards, I think actually all of you are going to help us find the pathways forward during these coming days. I hope that by 2030 I'll be sitting in this room somewhere in the audience and I'll be listening to the CEO of some blue startup or blue scale-up, blue unicorn that's going to tell us about their success story and the jobs it's created for coastal communities and the truly sustainable solutions that they're using. Maybe listening to the mayor of a Finnish coastal municipality or a Latvian state agency talking about the ecosystem-based management that we've applied across the Baltic Sea. Or listening to many more examples about the success stories and innovative solutions that we together have come across. And that all of us will be here in 2030 and say, well, actually I was in the room when that idea was created, or I was somewhere at a coffee break and said some word that someone picked up on. So that's my main wish for today, that in a few years' time, a few short years' time, we'll all see each other again and be able to look back on the success stories. Like Petra said, Petra and I and our colleagues here as well, we will be listening with very big ears during the coming days, taking part in the discussions. We all have an incredibly important task ahead of us, and that's making sure that the green transition becomes a blue-green transition and a truly sustainable transition. So you're all very welcome to Gothenburg. Thank you.
Thanks, John and Petra. And now I would like to move on to Fredrik. Fredrik, I would say a long-time friend when we in 2010 started with the Submariner journey, and you were telling me about algae and the beauty of algae, and I didn't really believe it. So Fredrik is always sort of the example I give to my kids, that a researcher can really even turn entrepreneur and put the things into practice you have sort of praised a long time ago. Fredrik, please, word is to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Angela, for nice words. And well, I will try to take you through a little bit about how science can lead to a sustainable future, the involvement of low-trophic aquaculture in Sweden. And I have plenty of hats here. I am the Submariner president, and that is nice in a way. And I'm so happy on behalf of Submariner that so many people attend here today. That's super nice. I'm also a founder of a startup company called Nordic Sea Farm, together with 5 other people from Gothenburg University. And that's just an example of a company that have 15 employees now, and it's start of this blue revolution that already have started here, working with seaweeds. And I'm also active with the Blue Food Center that we started a couple of years ago. Anyway, you know, everyone, that we have big challenges on the planet. And one important thing here is that the planet is blue. We are talking about the blue planet now, the 71% of the planet that we need to rely on if we're going to have a sustainable future. And we want to do a lot in the blue parts of the ocean, putting out energy system, foods, aquaculture, etc. In the same time, we are in the same era as we were 65 million years ago, losing species, biodiversity, and things like that. And a lot of this is generated by climate change, of course. Back in 2009, we started with the to turn from the fossil-based society to the bio-based society. And in Sweden, we have been relying very much on the forest. The forest, we want to do everything with the forest. The forest is not enough. We have to look into other resources also to find complementary things to forest if we are going to do this transition. And back there, somewhere 2010, we did some important thing. We started to think about turning a problem into something positive that also could be something positive. There were people working with tunicates, sea squirts that invaded the blue mussel farms and just destroyed them. But let's use them. Let's do something with the sea squirts and the tunicates. And that is now evolving to a new resource today. We were looking on beach cast on the beaches in the south of Sweden. We wanted to do something with it. Could we do biogas with it? Could we do fertilizers with it? Just take it up and see what happens. So this was sort of the start, at least from my point of view. And then we started this very nice project that was called Submariner, Sustainable Use of Baltic Marine Resources. And here we were looking in, we had the opportunity here to look into macroalgae cultivation, mussel cultivation, aquaculture, fish, reed, and the multi-use of wind farms together with aquaculture, etc. We looked into all these things, and many here in the room have been there and are continuing this work that we started with the Submariner project that then turned to the Submarine Network. So this was a fantastic thing that we got it, and it's also very nice that it have been very planned, I would say, to a journey towards where we are standing today. We had a vision for 2030, and we had the ideas back in 2009, 2010. And there is a roadmap. And the roadmap, when you have this type of projects, are also stimulating the national research funding, for example, Formas and others in Sweden. And as a continuation here, Formas planned a project called a strategic project for a bio-based Swedish economy. And we gathered here a couple of colleagues from different parts of Sweden, KTH, Chalmers, Gothenburg University, Linné, and Lund. And we said, now we want to do something fantastic, have a holistic perspective here, how we could cultivate seaweeds and take out food, feed, materials, etc., and in the same time providing some good for the marine environment. So we started the Sea Farm project, and that in itself have also generated a number of other big seaweed projects. And now I would like to say some keywords that will turn up here. We need applied science, we need basic science, we need collaboration, that is critical, especially in a very small country like Sweden. We need outreach to come out into the communities, but in the same time, we also need sustainability, very important. Whatever we do now in the sea needs to be sustainable. So let's go into the research here. We need to have very skilled researchers. And in the Sea Farm project, we found them at Gothenburg University, up at Tjärnö Laboratory, that had the skill in marine botany to learn the protocols, how you could seed lines and then put them out at sea to provide sea farms. And this was the first sea farm that we established, and that was in the first only marine national park in Sweden, up at Koster National Park. It was 2 hectares, and here we did a lot of investigation of the environmental impact, etc., of a big sea farm, and we learned a lot about it. So it worked out very well, and that was really nice. No one had tried this before in Sweden, but it worked out very well. The saccharina, in this case, the sugar kelp, is growing very well, and now lately ulva is also possible to cultivate on ropes like this, working very well, and that is really nice. One important thing that we took into account when we started all this was food, and not just algae as a seafood or ingredient in food or stabilizer and taste enhancer. We wanted also food to get people to eat it. So early in the project we started to collaborate with chefs and do dishes and cookbooks and things like that to raise the interest of seaweeds in Sweden. And then we also work with material. We wanted to do all kind of things. We had the opportunity. We started with art and seaweeds together with Aalto University. We did demonstration materials mainly at KTH, where we did plastics of seaweeds or alginate cups, etc. So materials was another thing. Sustainability is something very important. And in the whole, all the projects that we have been working is to have life cycle analysis, to evaluate the project from a sustainability point. And that is very crucial and very important in all projects coming towards the future. Now, yeah. And then outreach, I was saying, very important. We had got much media attention in the project. We were selected 25 cases of sustainable change in the Nordic bioeconomy. We were on Google, one of the 10 botanical projects that could save the world. So that was great. We have also had a number of projects both in Sweden but also in European Union. Here is another project, GRASS, where we started to continue with the work. We collaborate with many different applications of seaweeds. In this case, we have another project, Formas financed, Sea Feed, where we're looking on the inhibition of methane by feeding cows with seaweeds. And of course, we want to develop techniques and having artificial intelligence, digitalization, things, drones that will help us do surveys of seaweeds farm when they are out in the open sea, maybe together with wind farms. Eventually, we have continued the collaboration, and this is very important. That is a long thread from 2010 until now, where people that were initially with us are also now collaborating and extending the collaboration. And now we have the Blue Food Center for the Seaweed of Future with 8 different academic partners. And our long-term vision here is to unlock the enormous potential lying in the production of nutritious food from Sweden water and make Sweden a leading supplier of attractive and sustainable produced seafood. And to our help, we have a number of companies and organizations. So we have more than 70 partners. It's a national project all over Sweden. It's also inland water, fresh waters. And we have the primary production, the seafood processing industry, and then the ones selling the seafood in the end. So collaboration is so very important to succeed, I would say. And then finally, this is just the startup I mentioned that I'm also one of the founder of. And there is a number of projects coming out now. We have farm with permission of about 30 hectares here on the Swedish west coast. We have some products that you could find in ordinary stores. There is 15 employees now in coastal regional areas that generate jobs. And that corresponds to hundreds of jobs in Gothenburg, for example. And this is just one example. There is a multitude of companies popping up with mussel, sea squirts, etc. And we have just started the Blue Revolution. And there I end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fredrik, for this wonderful food for thought you gave us yet again. I think we have a lot of opportunities to talk to you over the course of the next 2 days. I would like to move now to Elina Weidemann from yet another very important network, mainly in the Baltic Sea, but also very strongly cooperating with the North Sea, which is dealing with maritime spatial planning, because in the end, we very often end up in our discussions, but where is the space for all this production and what are the processes? And what I find interesting, so there are also visions already, of course, around. There is not only the vision of the mission Restore Our Oceans, and I think our task is to sort of bring these different visions together. The Vasa vision is in 2040, so in fact I would be interested, I gave the task to Elina to tell us, what can a 2040 vision already give us ideas for a vision which actually sort of, should already be fulfilled in 2030. So, Ilya.
Thank you, Angelo, for your very kind words, and very pleased to be here and see actually so many people who are actually willing probably to restore our oceans and waters and sea, and probably also create jointly that blue Spotify that was suggested by John previously. Yeah, spatial planning is usually part of it, if not a fundamental part of it, and therefore I am very grateful to be here to tell you more about macro-regional cooperation on spatial planning, the WASAB, and its recent product, the WASAB Vision. But probably before I go deeper into my story, yeah, as said, my name is Elina Veidemane. I'm coming from Latvia and representing the WASAB Secretariat, and I will tell a little bit more about the organization I'm representing today. So WASAB, probably for those who doesn't know, it may sound quite exotic name, but actually it's an acronym for a longer title, so the vision and strategies around the Baltic Sea. It is an intergovernmental cooperation on spatial planning and development in the Baltic Sea region, already taking place for more than 30 years. And so the main mission of the WASAB is to, as mentioned by Angelo, to discuss and agree upon spatial perspectives for the macro region, for the Baltic Sea region particularly, and also to serve as a platform for knowledge exchange, for mutual learning, and also cooperation in spatial planning. Aside from that, WASAB is also given a prominent role to co-coordinate the policy area spatial planning within the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. And as it was mentioned already, actions and cooperation will be mentioned many times today and tomorrow. And after that, also the strategy for the Baltic Sea region can play a vital role here, helping you also to establish different cooperations across the sectors, and maybe also establish new alliances. Yeah, the vision, as mentioned, was already, it is our recent project, product, and recently also being endorsed by WASAB ministers this June. So it is a long-term perspective for the Baltic Sea region that aims for resilient and well-connected and diverse and vibrant region with diversity, sustainability, integration, and cooperation as the key values. So the vision itself, it defines the desirable picture, how we would like to see our region, which actions we should take to achieve that picture, and maybe some actions that we should avoid, or some certain aspects. Also, it takes a critical view on what kind of assets the region has, and also what kind of challenges it is facing today, or maybe also can face tomorrow. And last but not least, it also defines development pathways for our pearls, as being represented our cities, starting from the local villages till the metropolitan areas, strings that are representing the virtual and physical connectivity of transport, energy, and digital services, and the patches as our nature, as a cultural nature, cultural values, as well as ecosystem services. And so all of them together binded in well-functioning planning system. According to the WASAB Vision 2040, we envision to hand over to the next generation the healthy Baltic Sea as a central asset around which the region and its people prospers, with its vibrant pearls of all sizes, well-connected strings between people and places, resilient patches of ecosystems ensuring high quality of life, which is based on the mindset shift towards sustainability and on wiser use of technologies, and also cooperative sea and land-based planning systems where adequate policies and actions can help coping with challenges across various levels, sectors and borders, and helps putting vision into practice. But to put vision into practice, we need committed players that also share the common values, and the variety of stakeholders, when we elaborated the vision, were involved in the co-creative process, so like building the vision together. The stakeholders were covered both the land and maritime issues, and also what is important, the implementation itself, of course, is the most crucial part of the vision, and therefore stakeholders are very eagerly invited to contribute to the implementation as well. So, but to make the vision come true, we need clear actions and also a logical time frame. And as a Japanese proverb says, visions without actions may end up being daydreams, while actions without visions risk to become nightmares. So in order to avoid that, the vision has defined at least 40 potential future actions covering different sectors like aquaculture, tourism, shipping, etc. So those actions could give a starting point to help to implement the vision. The key next steps to implement the vision are the continuous dialogue with stakeholders to build the networks and linkages, establish joint actions or even the projects. And all these activities could be carried out at various governance levels, starting from the macro-regional till the local, national, and etc. Furthermore, also the cross-sectoral cooperation will play the crucial role here. So as you can see, also you can be a part of this WASTAB story and help to implement the vision. The vision is available at WASTAB website. You can learn more about it. Also, you can study the background documents of accompanying it. And if you wish, also you can have a printed version of a printed document, because we're having a stand somewhere here, so you're welcome to visit us there as well. But today's focus is about carbon neutral and circular blue economy and in the North and also in the Baltic Sea. So those initiatives usually requires solid planning and coherent and data-based solutions in maritime areas. And here, maritime spatial planning comes in place as an important tool that helps to balance various interests and also, meantime, help to protect the seas. As maritime spatial planning is a relatively new discipline in the spatial planning world, at least in the Baltic coast. So the WASTAB has established the cooperation with the Helcom, which is another well-known pan-Baltic organization dealing with environmental protection. So, and within its joint working group, which involves the ministries and national agencies that are responsible for maritime spatial planning in Baltic Sea region countries, they have discussed how to ensure coherent maritime spatial plans across the sea. And they have also discussed and approved maritime spatial planning principles, agreed the targets within its roadmap for maritime spatial planning, as well as prepared several guidelines to support planners in their work. For example, how to ensure ecosystem-based approach, how to establish transparent dialogue across the borders, how to structure data, and much more. In its regional hemisphere roadmap, which is like one of the key framework documents for maritime spatial planning in the Baltic Sea region, it has been defined the targets and tasks for the Helcom WASTAB cooperation. And this roadmap also supports countries in their journey to implement the plans that have been now prepared, and actually to help to understand what actually means to implement the plan, how to monitor it, how to evaluate whether the plan has been successful. It also aims for the regional policy coherence, for good environmental status of our Baltic Sea, as well as sustainable blue economy, as well as it is exploring the ways how maritime spatial planning can also address the climate change issues. But macro-regional cooperation is not only about that, it's also about knowledge exchange and learning from each other. And therefore, using the opportunity, I would like to invite you to join to the final conference of the EMSP project that will take place next year, particularly the 31st January, 1st February in Gdańsk. And the project, after very intensive work, would like to present the results that they have prepared when project will be discussing the land-sea interactions, community of practice approach in spatial planning. And therefore, if you also are willing to join this dialogue, please register for the event. You can find registration under the QR code here, or just visit the project's website and you will find more information about the project, about the results, and also the upcoming conference. And aside the conference, also, we plan to dive into more discussions about land-sea interactions and coastal development issues, because we see from today that the coastal areas become more and more critical areas where land and sea developments meet, and therefore we would like to pay a proper focus to that. Those workshops, as you can see, will quite ahead of us, but still, if you would like to be updated about what WASTAB does, what kind of workshops there could be, and how you could join our corporation, so you can subscribe to our newsletter, and then you could receive the information in the due time. Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Elina. And with that, I would like to move to Emilia Kuhlborg. And we heard the word string, but in fact, she's the Deputy Director of the Mega String region. And as I mentioned before, this arena #1 has a particular focus on sort of the Baltic side of Germany, the Baltic side of Denmark, the western coast of Sweden, and the south of Norway. And actually, there is already a cooperation, string, ongoing among the regions in this region. So it was quite obvious to invite Emilia to sort of give us a brief on what the role of string could be, should be, also in terms of the sustainable blue economy. I hope the slides are coming up.
Is it me or is it the... Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'll just entertain while we wait for the tech. Okay, well, I think I'll just start and then we'll see what happens. Great, no slides. My name is Emilia Kuhlborg. Thank you so much for having me in what is actually my hometown. I'm based in Copenhagen, but I'm from what was so eloquently phrased as the best side of Sweden. So I'm from Gothenburg. I also used to work at Volvo, so I'm representing Gothenburg in one person. And I'm
Emilia,
here...
you know, I think I help you out in terms of, because we have a lot of, you know, so is it coming
There it
now?
is, yeah. I'm also fine just
It's just not here.
going through my career history. I think we've got it here.
No,
It's
it's just
fine.
that because time is always running so fast,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, I do have sort of, you know, important organizational issues to talk about, etc. Okay, but
Here
then
we
we
go.
continue with yours first.
I don't have it here, but I think it's fine. I can just look there. Okay. You'll see me reading from the screen, as I'm sure is rhetorically perfect. All right. As I said, I come from string, which was also sort of mentioned in a different capacity. As you said, you represent, or you sort of more represent the macro perspective. And I represent the mega-regional perspective. And I will go into a little bit further about what a mega-region is. But I think I just wanted to mention, listening to the previous speakers, and of course, knowing what we're going to talk about these days, I just think that it's really good to emphasize the fact that even though it's important with startups and sort of new innovation sprouting throughout this mega region on an individual effort basis, it is really clear that it is collaboration that is going to drive this green and blue transition forward. And I think hopefully, yes, that works. So here is the string mega region. As you can see, it spans all the way up from Oslo down to Hamburg. And one thing that's really important to emphasize is that it's not really necessarily only a geographical area. It's more of sort of a tapestry of different fantastic features in terms of green technology, really great ecosystems, and what we think will be, maybe is not yet, a really good connecting infrastructure throughout this region. And as you can see, our members consist of cities and regions, so we solely represent public interests. We don't have any private members. We have 15 members, and together we represent 14 million people. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is the fact that it's really important to be representing this many people when you, for example, you're not supposed to say lobby anymore, so I say advocate. In Brussels, for example, this equates sort of the size of the Netherlands. But where if you come to Brussels and represent only one country, then you know then it's a little bit more difficult to get through with your, not demands, but more ideas. But if you represent 4 countries, as we do, it's a lot easier. So that was one thing that I really wanted to emphasize. And here, we work a lot with the OECD. And together with the OECD, we've identified that this region on the map that I showed constitutes a mega region. And it's important to say that it didn't start as a mega region. It started as a collaboration. I'm going to go back to the map because not necessarily everyone knows where everything is. As you can see, where Kiel and Schleswig-Holstein is, it started as a collaboration between Schleswig-Holstein and Region Zealand almost 30 years ago, an Interreg project. Actually, it was to foster the development of the Fehmarn Belt Tunnel, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. Maybe more recently, in this year, we've been working with it for 30 years, and now it's coming in 2029. And more and more regions and cities said, oh, okay, this looks like a very successful collaboration between regions and cities to advocate sort of for what was then more infrastructure agenda. And so they joined, and now we're 15 members, with the latest member being Kiel, which is also in Schleswig-Holstein. And so we're very happy to have sort of moved from an infrastructural connecting the region focus to a solely green transition focus. And it's also worth mentioning that in terms of being a mega region, you can see here it's clusters of cities and regions that reflect, I'm not going to read, but you can see. The whole idea is that together there's a sort of a power of agglomeration. You're bigger together than the sum of your respective parts. And in order to sort of continue building on this really good sort of collaboration of fantastic, I want to say diamonds in the rough, we have been benchmarking against other megaregions that are potentially even less known than the string megaregion. So I'm not sure if I say the Cascadia megaregion, does anyone know which one that is? No. But I think most of you know where Microsoft is located, the headquarters. I was expecting a yes, absolutely. Yes. So yeah, exactly. So the Cascadia megaregion is located on the west coast of the US and Canada, and it's also sort of it's an international collaboration between Washington, Oregon, and the state of British Columbia. And they have really found something there. They've managed to attract a lot of green tech companies. They've managed to really foster sort of an ecosystem of innovation. And so we're really benchmarking against other successful megaregions such as these. Another megaregion that we're looking at is the Danube megaregion, which is the German word for the Donau, or maybe not the German, but it's the Donau region. And it represents, I think it's maybe 15 times the region that we represent. So they're a little bit ahead of us. But this was mostly to say that we have a long way to go, but we're very ambitious. And here, of course, I put an Volvo reference. So in 2018, we initiated a strategic collaboration with the OECD. And they looked at all of these other megaregions across the globe, including other ones that I didn't mention. And they said, okay, given the geographical factors that you have, given the fact that you are located in Northern Europe, you have a very low rate of corrupt, actually businesses or corrupt policy. It's very important. You're very far ahead in the sustainable transition, urban development, everything. You have a fantastic opportunity to really build a green hub here for innovation, industry, and infrastructure. But you have a long way to go. Here are 21 strategic recommendations from the OECD to the string regions, or the members of the string mega region. And they were mostly centered on infrastructure, attracting green growth, and very importantly, connecting the region from an infrastructural point of view. So we took all these 21 strategic recommendations and sort of boiled them down into a strategy that we use as our sort of navigation tool. And I'm going to go a little bit into that few slides down the road. But I wanted to mention that it's been crucial to have support both from, of course, the OECD, but from policymakers, legislators, politics, but from industry as well. I think that's, you can't stress that enough. So you can't come, even though our members are sort of mayors and the highest regional representatives from politics, so we have that sort of in, but it is so important to have this, it's been said many times, but public-private partnerships, it's really, really incremental. And here you can see sort of the main reasons for the international collaboration. And I've tried to sort of emphasize the main points. And if I can send with you sort of a message that if you only remember one thing that I said today, it's the fact that we stand before problems that aren't national. They're not regional, they're not local. We can't solve them just using our sort of the closest people we have at hand. Because the problems aren't local or regional, the problems are international and cross-border, then we need a solution that's international and cross-border. Which is why we think it's so important to do this sort of lobbying advocacy effort in Brussels on a national level and not only on a regional and local level. And I think that's also really one of the most important reasons that I'm here today, is to convey that there really is a fantastic, huge will from our members to collaborate and to foster innovation and to support projects that the blue Spotify that we heard here, that come out of this. And as I mentioned, we have infrastructure as one of our main projects. Fehmarnbelt Tunnel, very important for us. We also have the Oslo-Gothenburg railway track. If you've ever tried taking the train from Oslo to Gothenburg, you have been disappointed. Or ship goods, you've also been disappointed. And just, you know, there's, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, there are new legislation in terms of ESG rating and reporting. And for companies based in, I want to say, all of Norway, it's sort of impossible to export your goods to the rest of Europe in a sustainable fashion. You have to use diesel trucks, among other ways of transport, but you can't use rail in a sustainable way, but neither time nor environmental. And we're working very hard to solve that problem for every one of you. Another thing that we're working on is establishing a hydrogen corridor between Oslo and Hamburg. And we have 12 refueling stations coming up that we're working in together with private partners and European interest organizations. And I'm not going to deep dive into the fixed links across the Öresund, but they are, of course, very much on our radar. For example, a metro from the first international metro in the world from Malmö to Copenhagen, hopefully. And the Green Hub. So the idea is to position the whole String mega region as a green hub for innovation, industry, and infrastructure. In order to do this, we are focusing on supporting green public procurement, cluster cooperation, and positioning the mega region. We're working together with our members in different capacities. And in terms of green public procurement, I just now sent out a draft to all of our members for a joint political statement, where we really want to sort of raise the ambitions on public procurement, because we have identified that that can help drive the green transition. And hopefully in the future we'll also include, I mean, Oslo is very far ahead with electrified ferries, for example. But this will also include harbors and ferries, etc. Anything to do with the blue economy as well. Cluster cooperation is essentially something that we do that supports innovation and industry. So we are right now engaged in a research collaboration called the Green, it's a mouthful, Green Trans Real World Lab within the String region. And it is using our String region to look at, you know, different factors. Can we improve governance to support sustainability? How can we sort of even further create an ecosystem that supports innovation? And it's a research collaboration with, among others, KTH. and Chalmers, of course, and Lund University, and universities from all of our region. And we're very excited to be able to, hopefully at what we said in 2030, be able to say that it's been a success, and to, I don't know, perhaps include something on the blue economy in the project. And because you also finished with a QR code, I did too. And this is just, I'm not sure if you can see, but it's just a way to show, if you use your phones, that this really is a top 20 hotspot for innovation. This mega region is sort of where it happens on a European base. And this is also why we think that we will be able to compete in terms of green investment, which is essentially what you need. And I think one of the things that I really wanted to convey here is you can, if you pour money into a project, you can pour as much money as you want, but you really, really need the engagement of key stakeholders. If you don't have both of these things, you are looking forward to a very slow-moving project. And in order to get this key engagement, I think the collaboration, the inter-regional cross-border collaboration is very important. And also wanted to finish on a note saying that String fully supports the exciting things that you're going to talk about, or that we're going to talk about in the coming days. And we're excited to see the result. Thank you.
Thank you, Emilia. And now, thank you also for giving us a bit of a different perspective. I think sometimes we are here in this blue bubble, and it's always good to extend also cooperation to those who are really working also with the region. So very happy that you're here, and actually also very happy and open for cooperation with String. Now we have a little bit of a transition here on stage, so I would like you to move down and actually give room to our next slot of speakers. We are doing quite well. We are only 5 minutes behind, so I'm pretty proud that we are sort of, doing so well. Why these people are sort of, going up the stage and give us a helicopter pitch on the various themes and sessions. In order to sort of get a bit more spirit into this room, what I would now like you to ask to do, while they are getting up, you also get up and basically turn around and say hello to the person who is sitting behind you. And, okay, you were meant to say... exactly. Who has the bell? You were meant to say hello. But it's nice to hear the sound of discussions. Okay, but this is the sound we want to hear in the coming days. This is why we have organized this whole conference, not like a plenary, which is very silent and which is sort of, listening to all these very smart people. But basically, you are the smart ones. And what is important is that we get your actions, your opinions, your discussions, your interaction. And that's why we have so many workshops in a minute. And for that, we would like to I wanted to now sort of organize a bit of a, it's elevator pitch. So you meet me in the elevator and, I don't know, it's a skyscraper, okay? So, okay, we can have up to stage 100, but not longer. And, now you have actually a very difficult task, but I invited here sort of representatives of certain themes we want to sort of discuss in this arena. And please, actually, don't take it out now, but on your mobile phones, that's why we also had this B2 match organized. So on your mobile phone, you will find under resources, action points to be discussed during the arena. These are not decisions, these are just suggestions in terms of what kind of actions you may want to come up with. And we will have then on Thursday the final stage where we will sort of validate and see what actually did you as stakeholders decide what should happen. But for that, I think you need to have a little bit of a talk in an elevator in terms of what is going on. And I would like to give the first word to Per Dolmer to actually give us a brief on, you know, what does it mean to have blue biomass production in this, what we now know, it's the string region. And, you know, to have it even low trophic, zero input. What is your take on here? Where are we and what has to happen in order to bring this live in 2030? Per.
Okay, thank you. Thank you first. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce low trophic agriculture at this opening session. And Angela and you, I will try to convince you that low trophic agriculture, mussels and seaweed. Now you're walking.
Yeah, because
they are actually the blue Spotify. They are very important in relation to the transition in climate-friendly food, increased biodiversity, and food security. My name is Per Dolmer. I am the founder of the Blue Research. And I worked with agriculture, fishery, and marine habitat restoration the last 2 decades at the Technical University of Denmark as scientist and as advisor. And Blue Research, we are involved in several projects addressing low trophic agriculture, including the project Baltic Muppets, where we demonstrate and test submerged mussel farm in order to produce mussels where we have ice and allowing without visual impact. So yeah, and you know that low trophic agriculture, this is the farming of mussels, oysters and seaweed, and it creates value, but it also has some other benefits. Low trophic agriculture contributes with nature and ecosystem services as water cleaning, nutrient catch, carbon catch. It forms new habitats. And the production can be regenerative, supporting an ecosystem with increased biodiversity. And I know that biodiversity is a very important task. The production of mussels and seaweed have a very low carbon footprint. And that could be the next target, and including mussels and seaweed in our food system and feed system will significantly reduce CO2 emissions. And then mussels and seaweed are healthy, and an increased consumption is recommended by a number of authorities. But how can we upscale the production of mussels and seaweed? A good definition of climate food is that it is a low emission food, but also that people actually consume the mussels or seaweed frequently. So one target is actually to change the habits of consumer to eat mussels and seaweed, and I think that's not easy. But this requires innovation in relation to new products and a lot of communication. The traditional moules frites have to be supplemented with mussel balls, 3D printed mussel fingers or seaweed fingers. And there will be no waste. Small mussels will be used, or seaweed of bad quality will be used as ingredients in feed or food, and other side stream will be processed to new products. In order to upscale the production, we need to plan the production, we need to adapt the regulation, and we need to have accept from the citizen and consumers before upscaling the production. Oops. I think this transformation of the food system have to be driven by private companies and partnerships. But public support in relation to research and development, financing schemes, setting up clusters and symbiosis is very important. On Iceland, they have, during the last 3 or 4 decades, reduced the catch of cod significantly, but during innovation of new products from side streams, everything from enzymes to skin, they have increased the economy. So the cod industry have actually moved from a simple linear value chain to a complex value net. And I think we have to do the same with a low trophic aquaculture. The next, before 2030 or the next 20 or the next 30 years, we have to focus on innovation, we have to focus on cooperation, and we have to set up new business models.
Per, I think we are now already at level 99, so...
Okay, thanks a lot. I hope I convinced you.
Okay. Okay, I think now I meet Garda in the elevator. Garda, you're from Deltaris and you have been working on multi-use for so long. Yes. And basically, this is not only the Blue Mission BANOS Arena #1, but of course, many of you know also it's the United final event. Yes. So, Garda, what can we expect in terms of multi-use in the String region? What have you brought back from United, and what is supposed to happen in the years to come in order to make multi-use happening?
Yeah, we would need another elevator for that. So I guess we start with United. So United and the multi-use concept. So I think we have been working and hearing about sustainability solutions. Use of marine space. We have heard about marine spatial planning today in the morning. I think all of that is in United. It is in the implementation that lies really the challenges. And the challenges that we have been facing in the pilots of the co-location of the activities is a lot. So we have technical challenges, we do have environmental challenges, economical, social acceptance, legislation. This is a nightmare. But okay, so about the positive side, we are all going to be seeing what has been achieved in United in the coming days, and there are plenty of sessions about that. We are going to be sharing with you actually the lessons learned and blueprints of ways forward. So it is not an easy job when we are working on implementation of different sectors. The stakeholders and the user engagement, it was not easy. It was convincing that there are benefits beside those challenges for humanity at large. This is also not easy. And how to convince people that we are also restoring, by doing so, restoring our oceans and considering the environment and also restoring the biodiversity while doing all of that. That was not easy. So I think I'm not going to spoil the main dish. Sorry, Angela, I'm not going to say all of that. So please join us in all of our sessions. We are going to be talking and sharing the lessons learned, the blueprints, etc. And it is not over. United is not over. We do have Alt Farms. Alt Farms is the project within the mission, Ocean. And we are working extensively in how we can advance, step up the activities of aquaculture and seaweed cultivation and mussels, while also restoring the biodiversity. So this is not the end of it. It is the beginning for Alt Farms as well.
Thanks, Garda. And I think this is a very good point you made, that in fact this arena is, and then also the closing session is of course not the end of something, it should be the starting point of, you know, sort of really implementing the mission Restore Our Oceans. And you mentioned biodiversity. That's why I would like to sort of, you know, if I go into the next elevator, meet Jannica from HELCOM. You are actually coordinating one of the main MPA projects also now under the mission wing, but you're also involved in many other activities. We agreed, when I meet you, I don't want to hear only about MPAs, but also marine pollution in general. Jannica, what is your take on?
Yes, so thank you very much. So I will try to convince you that there is a strong link between pollution, marine pollution especially, marine protected areas and regenerative action. Because we start with the problem, we find the solution, and then we implement it so we actually get the results that we're looking for. So I'm going to try to lure you to learn more about these things at the workshops that we will have here in the coming 2 days. So first we're going to tomorrow in the afternoon be looking at safeguarding biodiversity. So essentially, how can we use marine protected areas networks, improved policy coherence and community involvement to make sure that we really get the benefit out of protection that we are hoping to get. Now, in this workshop, you will have the possibility to meet representatives from the EU, from regional MPA networks, from other initiatives under the mission, NGOs, projects, national authorities, and academia. So we really have quite a large spread that will come with their opinions and views. And we will be looking at how can we tackle the ongoing challenges that we have in relation to trying to meet these very ambitious targets that have been set for protection. So 30% protection of the marine environment by 2030, of which 1/3 or 10% of the total area should be strictly protected. This is no small feat. It took us almost 30 years to get to where we are today in the Baltic Sea region. And that's, depending on how you count, a little bit between 14 and 17%. Now we have 7 years to get all the way to 30. So it's quite a big piece to bite off, so to say. So we will be looking at strictly protected areas, what is the status and what is needed in order to actually achieve the 30 and 10% targets. We will be looking at establishment of MPAs, from a network perspective. So rather than individual areas, how can they work together? Are they adequately planned? Effectiveness of those areas, we already have them, but are they actually bringing us what we need? Have we thought about things like how they are connected? Then how can we link protection and maritime spatial planning that we heard about earlier today? Because both of these initiatives try to tell us how to use the marine environment. But are they doing it together? And then looking at stakeholders, because everything we do in the marine environment involves other people. So we need to think about how do we involve stakeholders. So in this workshop, we're going to have a number of projects that all work with marine protection. It's MSP for Bio, Blue for All, CrossGov, Cool Blue, and Protect Baltic sit together and discuss how we can find solutions to this. Then we still have a lot of activities that take place in the sea and at sea that need to coexist with protection. And one of the workshops that we will also be discussing is on marine permaculture. So how can aquaculture be regenerative and be used as bioremediation or a social innovation tool? And this is a workshop that takes place tomorrow, also towards the afternoon. And where you will where you will have the chance to weigh in on the manifesto that this project is trying to present to ensure that there is a cohesive strategy across the whole region for what we're trying to implement when it comes to using aquaculture as a tool for regenerative action. But we also need to understand how is all of this actually working? Is it working? And if it isn't working, why isn't it working? Because we pour a lot of resources into all of this. So we need to understand the importance of monitoring when it comes to actually being or implementing all of these grand ideas and theories that we have. So tomorrow afternoon, you can take the next step and look at how monitoring actually is a key part of this whole process of implementing and changing how we work with the blue economy in the effort to make blue economy truly sustainable. And last but not least, when you have figured out how your through monitoring, how your blue economy is doing and where you have effects, you need to understand how to make it circular. So go from a kind of linear approach to a circular approach. And on Thursday morning, you can join the event that talks about this, that looks at ecosystem and circular design for our oceans.
Oh,
Thank you.
Jannica, I mean, now you really convinced me. Now I have a problem. I don't know, I only want to go to your workshops in a sense, and there are so many other interesting ones. So I think I have to meet Levent in the next elevator. Levent, you're really coming from business, sustainable business. So what is the take on, and where are sort of the discussion points you think are necessary to have in order to really realize sort of more sustainable blue product development in the region? And perhaps that we don't only buy it, but that they are also produced here in this region.
Nice to meet you, Angela. Nice to meet you all in the elevator. I can talk 3 hours, so we need to go up and down with the elevator. Okay, so I start with a question. Isn't it even better to have a lot of small blue Spotifys than one big? And my Spotify, for example, is Tangpongs. It's a product from Wild or Sea Greens, or a lot of products, Ocean Well from Ocean Basis, from my company, of course. So Frederick also mentioned that we are kind of pioneers, and he also is pioneer. So we have a real good chance to make it better than other industries, better than the land-based agriculture. And so that was the basis for our work when we had contact to the extensive salmon farming in south of Chile. Peter and Christian are also in the audience, my partners from Ocean Basis, and they know the story. So we had the strong feeling that we should do it better. So that was the beginning of thinking about cultivating seaweed and to make products out of it, because we would like to have some income with it and to have a good team with us all together, create products, develop products, and sell them. And so we know the challenges of developing products, and I come to that in the 50th floor, maybe. And we know about the benefits of these blue products, because it's really fun. I mean, you have a lot of interesting compounds in seaweeds. You had a lot of interesting biopolymers, for example, which you can use for 3D printing, not only in medicine but for other purposes. All these things are necessary to think about, and also enzymes, new enzymes for the bioindustry. But we think we should focus really on the demands of the society. So we put really these societal needs into the focus of the blue products. And so we have a lot of demands. Beside peace, of course, we have reduction of carbon footprint and environmental footprint, and I think it's a good idea to stress that it's possible to protect and to use the seas, as was mentioned before. And the needs are, of course, chronic diseases. I think that is one of the most challenging problems in our societies. And we know from a lot of scientific work that seaweed and other marine organisms contain a lot of interesting compounds that can be transferred into products. But we made the experience that it's, even if it's really, really successful, maybe in 10 or 20 years to make pharmaceuticals of these compounds, we need to create a framework where we are faster to bring the benefits to the society. So that was one decision why we created Ocean Well as a natural cosmetic, certified natural cosmetic, to bring the positive benefits from the blue compounds to the society as a skincare. So now we have also a special line that is for atopic dermatitis sufferers, and also we created seaweed flakes that you can eat, because it was also mentioned before, we need to put a lot of effort into having the consumers to accept this, to eat seaweed, because that's the smartest way to benefit from the blue compounds.
And I think that's, you know, what is, by the way, also a beauty of this event. First of all, we will have a pitching event, of course, on you know, companies who are startups using not only seaweed but also other biomass. But we also have actually tomorrow at lunchtime a taste of the sea. So watch out for that. It will not be your lunch. It will not sort of, you know, cannot sort of serve you for or feed you for the whole lunch, but at least you will then sort of get a glimpse. And I think that there are also quite a number of samples of products, blue products, here in hall number 2.
Ocean Well products, take it away. There's samples.
Okay, time is moving on, and we have heard that clusters are important for business development. Alberto, I see you so often, but actually, can you sort of tell me what have you planned in the coming 2 days in terms of working with clusters, working with regions, bringing sort of the blue bioeconomy to life?
Oh, lots of things. You should definitely come to our workshops. And I'm really happy about everything that was said, because basically when you talk about regions, that's where all of this comes together. How do we create an ecosystem that favors innovation? So you need the public sector, you need the private sector, you need the research, you need the science, you need the startups, the people that want to put their money and their time into this. And then, of course, you need all of these actors to be able to interact within a regional space where they can also produce value for the region. So watch out for a workshop which has the word valorization in its title happening tomorrow morning, because when we think about value, it is not only economic value. Of course, there should be sustainable value chains that then go into production and where consumers accept and appreciate those goods. But then it's also about creating local jobs. It is also about creating, social revitalization. So we will be looking at all of those things and actually trying to pick all of your brains and your knowledge to understand what are the next things that we need to do in order to make these things happen. And then when we talk about regions and, sustainable innovation, we need skills and we need jobs, and those jobs need to be in the regions for people to, of course, be able to make a living and spend their life there, or people from other places to choose to move there. But also companies need skilled people. So then we also in the next days we'll be looking at how can we, talk to the education and upskilling sector so that the education, the research, the private sector, the policy go in the same direction of creating those skills that we need. And when we talk about talent, one important thing is that we need everyone's talent. So if we also do not achieve gender equality in the blue field, that means that we are missing on a huge pool of talent. So how do we attract people? How do we enthuse them? And how do we make sure that we make use of the diversity that there is in regions to do all of that? So all of this will happen, today we'll be looking at the blue transition in coastal communities and how to look at jobs in that field. Tomorrow we will be looking at valorizations in regions. We will be looking at upskilling for the blue economy. We will be looking at gender equality. So full program, come to our sessions.
Thanks, Alberto, and thanks. It's sad we have already reached the 100th floor, but I go down with Frode, who is working with us in Prep for Blue, actually. which is, by the way, also funding this event because we had a pilot mission assembly planned in the Baltic Sea. And of course, our first mission arena is a pilot assembly. And Frode is working with us on how can this whole thing be funded? What are sort of new tools? So what is happening here, Frode, at the arena? What would you like to see discussed in which workshops?
Yeah, so I don't think I need to lure anyone because we're going to be talking about money, and that's usually does the job. Because over the next few days we will have several interesting sessions on funding and business incentives, but also on how policy and regulations can best help us achieve the 3 objectives of the Mission Ocean. And already straight after this opening session, we kick off with a session in Pascal, where the Prep for Blue project is organizing, and that is on business models and approaches to support the sustainable blue economy. This session will discuss the funding and business models and how they best can support the mission. Are there any new and innovative models that we could consider, perhaps that can be transferred from other sectors to our sector? The workshop will also present the first findings of our project, and we will hear from 3 startups about their experiences. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock there will be a roundtable of funders and funding bodies. That's a closed workshop setting out to find practical ways to improve cooperation among the funding bodies in the extended Baltic Sea region so that they can improve their impact. And for that impact to happen, the research and innovation funded by these institutions needs to reach the citizens and society. But how do we ensure market and societal uptake of the research solutions? Those are questions to be raised tomorrow morning at 10:45 in the session from research solutions to disruptive innovation tools and gaps. So that session will discuss how to bridge the gap between a research project and a startup. There will be an interactive session where participants can express what they find to be the biggest hurdles and solutions. Then there is Sargasso, which is a free of charge, open innovation platform providing matchmaking between those with a challenge or an idea and those with a solution. Tomorrow at 1:30 they will present the platform, and companies that have explored this way of working will share their experiences. What is needed to successfully implement the mission? That question is asked in the closed session towards an effective Mission Ocean governance tomorrow afternoon. This session will examine successes as well as gaps in the regulation in the Baltic and North Sea region. Can we achieve the Mission Ocean with existing structures, or what else is needed? The next question could be, how do we know if we reach the objectives? That brings us to key performance indicators, KPIs, which are the center of discussion on Thursday morning at 9 o'clock in the session on measuring the future success of the sustainable blue economy in the Baltic and North Sea. Their participants will collaboratively brainstorm on the needs and requirements of KPIs necessary for the efficient and accurate data-driven monitoring of the sustainable blue economy. And finally, on Thursday at 11, not long before we all return to our local habitats, we will ask how do we create links between the European level and the local level within an EU emissions approach. And that session is an opportunity to learn more about the aims and methodologies of the EU missions, but also to hear from practitioners in government or in universities about their experiences working with missions.
Thanks, Frode. And we are doing pretty well. We are just, we will be 5 minutes late, but I would like to give now also the final word to Christina, because we are a stakeholder mission assembly. But of course, what is very often emphasized in not only our projects, but in order to sort of bring this whole thing to life is citizen engagement. We have to go out. And Christina, you have organized, or you will organize, a lot of sessions which are dealing with actually citizen engagement, not only here, but even at the Universium. Can you give us a short brief?
Sure, thanks, Angela. As EU Commission has made it clear, citizens are really the core of the missions, not just the Mission Ocean, but the missions. So we are going to have a lot of activities where you can actually find out how the citizens can be the joint force that can give even more impact to all the projects, initiatives, and innovations. So whether you are a scientist, businessman, businesswoman, or you are just looking around, you can really join our activities and discover how you can benefit from engaging citizens. So for that, we have several sessions. Some of them is a Blue Mission BANOS workshop, where we are going to identify the challenges and, more important, sit together and co-create the solutions for tackling these challenges in the blue economy. Also, we will have a workshop in blue skills, where we are going to look at the blue skills and, first of all, understand what the blue skills are and how to upscale this towards the next generation of blue economy workers. And another session will be also enfocated in the European blue schools. This workshop also will look on how to connect these blue skills towards the actors, and more important, how the actors can efficiently engage with the communities. So yeah, this is a bit of bites of the information, and if you didn't manage to get it all, don't worry, we have a booth together with EU for Ocean Coalition, so you will find a booth in the main hall where we can just repeat this information or get to you in a little leaflet. And here also you can test your knowledge about the Baltic Sea in our quiz, or also join the game of Oysterland game. So you are very welcome. And last but not least, as you mentioned, there are activities beyond this very conference hall. So we will be tomorrow taking the Mission Ocean and connect it directly with the citizens, towards local citizens. So tomorrow we will have students and teachers coming to the Science Museum here in Gothenburg, the, if I'm not mistaken, Universium, yes. So where we are going to actually have them explaining what are their thoughts and how the Mission Ocean has come into their school curriculum. So and later we will have also reflections from the visitors and sharing their ideas and their perspectives on how to take this. So yeah, basically we just want to invite you to discover how to empower citizens can help, and really you need to empower them to join the tide that we need for the Mission Ocean.
Thanks a lot, Christina. And with that, I would like to give you sort of a final note. So this was really almost too much to take. Don't you agree? Okay, yeah. And basically, because one picture is saying much, much more than many words, etc., we have asked professional support. So basically, at the final session, Maria, if you get up, so we have asked a visual recorder, I don't know how Maria will do it, but who will actually sort of do a visual recording of our conference. She will sort of sometimes jump into your workshops, and I think she will help us to memorize later on what we have sort of discussed during this event here, during the action points. Maria will actually, during the breaks, also be in hall number 2, so you can live see the development of how the picture is going. Talk to her. You know, it's not only us who will give her the action points. It's important that you can actually also sort of bring in your input. And yeah, and only if you come at 1:30 on Thursday to our session, you will see sort of the final picture. Maria, thanks for being here. Another point sort of now just sort of practical points, organizational points for this arena is that we do have stands, you have heard it. We have stands for citizen engagement. Lots of our stakeholders have asked us to have exhibition stands. There is one stand I would actually like you to visit in particular, and that's of course the Blue Mission BANOS stand. Why? Because Kęstutis did not really mention it so much, but he said, okay, there is a mission charter. There is a system where you can sort of show your project and basically your initiative, which is contributing to the mission. I tell you, we can only coordinate, we can only support you in your engagement if we know about you. So basically, please use sort of, I don't think that you will have a boring minute during this arena, but use the opportunity of being here to submit your initiative to the so-called Mission Charter. You can do it here live. It doesn't do any harm. The only harm it does is that you may be sort of invited to arena number 2, to even an EU mission event, etc. And it really helps. It helps politics in Brussels if they see that there are stakeholders who are interested in the mission Restore Our Ocean. This is how politics works. So please visit the Blue Mission BANOS stand. Third point, when you walk out here, you will see 10 tables, standing tables with numbers on them. Don't take the numbers away because they are numbered from 1 to 10. And if you use the B2 match, and if you do not happen to meet the person you thought you would meet, you can actually also sort of send them a message on this B2 match. I will be there at, I don't know what time, table number 10. Will you also be there? So it may sort of facilitate things a little bit. And 2 more points. One is I would like to remind you once more that the action points for discussion are also on the B2 match. They are open. Please read them when you go into your workshops in order to have an opinion on them. We do have a system of note takers and which will then sort of filter into these action points. And then we will have on Thursday an interactive mission assembly with you voting on these action points. You are the stakeholder assembly. So please, make sure that you know what you want to vote on. Huh? Okay, so, and then what I did not manage now, so we are 12 minutes over, but, we have a straight agenda, so there will always be a gong. And I think it would be just polite to any kind of workshop organizer to really be there on time. Okay? And then the very, very last thing, in case you did not receive this message, the mingling, the evening reception is not tonight, but the good news is there will be an evening reception and mingling and lots of drinks and lots of food, but it will be tomorrow evening. So please, if you have made plans, try to sort of, tell your friends that you rather would like to meet them today and stay with us tomorrow. I think the good side of this is that we will have much, much more to discuss about, and stay with us, until 9 o'clock, and there will also be then drinks available after the free service is over. But this is an important message in case you did not get this email that we had to change from today to tomorrow. And with that, I finally now open to the mission arena and have a lot of fun, have a lot of interaction, and off you go.